Hi, and welcome to another edition of Fireside Chat. My name is Julie Hollinger, and I'm the Programs Manager at the Petawawa Military Family Resource Center. Our Fireside Chats are an opportunity for us to catch up with you, to talk about what's new at the PMFRC, and highlight some of the things that we are doing or some of the topics that are of concern to us, to our families, and to our community. We have always been very fortunate to have a number of guests to come to talk about the things that are interesting to them, people from different organizations, to talk about the services that are available to military families in our community, and also to other families in our area, just so they know what's new with the MFRC. We are going to be talking today, and we're going to have a lot of contact information that comes out. We're going to be talking about resources that are available. Please don't worry if you missed it during the point of the conversation. Don't worry about rewinding, going back and forth. We're going to list all of those comments and resources in the comment section underneath. So if you missed something and you want to sort of follow up on a resource, just scroll through to those comments at the bottom and you will be able to find everything that you need. If you would like to contact the MFRC, we're going to be checking those comments for about 24, 48 hours, probably longer. So you can add your questions there. If you feel your question is something that you would like to ask, but don't want to open it up to a public forum like Facebook, we totally get that. Please feel free to send us a direct message or contact any of us who are on today. And we are going to be more than happy to follow up with you on that. Sara Fortin, thank you. Welcome. We'll give more of an in-depth welcome to everybody later on. But Sara, we had just wanted to pass it over to you. Would you do a land acknowledgement for us before we start?
Absolutely. So we acknowledge that we are on Anishinaabe Algonquin people's traditional, unceded, and unsurrendered territory. We work and play and live here, and we're very honored to be on territory today.
Thank you. Claudia, we have traditionally used this as a business resumption, what's happening through a time of COVID, and we have decided this morning we are renaming this segment, What's New at the PMFRC? So can you give us a bit of a background as what's new at the PMFRC?
Absolutely. We continue to provide a large variety of services to the CAF community. That hasn't changed. Slowly our in-person activities and groups will be returning, and we're working on a safe plan to bring volunteers back into all of our programs. I know Sara, our volunteer coordinator, has waited a very, very long time for that, so that will be happening very soon. Friday is a government day where a lot of the businesses are closed. However, all three of our access points will be open on Friday. And that would be the Northside office, the Southside Community Center, and the Family Center. And if you haven't checked out, the Southside Community Center does have a little video. I'm not sure what that's called, but it shows the inside of all the rooms. So if you're new to the community, check it out because I think it's pretty cool. And if you are new to Petawawa, please stop in at any one of the locations and we'll be very happy to give you a tour, give you a welcome package, and let you know about the resources that are available. For the service supports that we offer, there's three various levels of service that we provide for the military veteran community as well as our civilian clients through employment services. Our first level of service is really all about that information and awareness, making sure that families are welcomed and they're provided with the general information, where access to resources are, services, and various supports. Our information services team will be really happy to assist the families with in and out clearances, navigating the new community, providing information that will help families thrive in Petawawa. Also, if there's anyone posted out, make sure you check out the relocation kits. I'm sure Julie can put the link for those. There is an online version and there's a really cool binder that you can get. So if you are leaving Petawawa, we're sad to see you go, but check out the kits. They're pretty cool. Our second level of service is about navigational support. And this service assists families if they're dealing with any specific military challenge related to relocation, absences, transition. Family navigators can help the families with individual support based on their situation, special needs, parenting support, deployment, francophone services. That's just a few. There's whatever the family needs. We want to meet families where they're at. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And there is a family navigator that is on call every day. So you never have to wait to speak to someone. Our third level of service is specific to providing services and access to the mental health team for the social worker, crisis support, referrals to other mental health services in the organization. So this also includes the Emergency Family Care Assistance Program if needed. So a lot of services, things have changed a little bit, but we really are looking to work with the families and providing the services and supports that they feel that they need.
Thank you, Claudia. If you are regular followers of Fireside Chat, and I'm sure you all are, you will recognize that the two people joining us today are new faces to the broadcast, but also new faces to the MFRC. They have just recently joined the team, and I'm going to give them each an opportunity to introduce themselves. Marcie Lane and Sara Fortin are joining us in relatively new positions to the agency. So why don't I'll give each of you a chance to introduce yourself, talk about what your role is at the MFRC before we sort of launch into the rest of our questions. Sara, why don't we start with you?
All right. Kwe, Minakazab, and Indijnaka Sara Fortin. So Kwe is hello, Minakazab is good morning, and Indijnaka means my name is. So hello, good morning, my name is Sara Fortin. I am a military brat. I wear that title very proudly. That is something that's really pushed me towards becoming interested in helping military families and veterans and alike, and trying to get involved in the community here. So as soon as this position opened, I was right on top of it because I was super passionate about it and super excited to bring whatever experience and knowledge that I have. I have loads of experience working with youth and families, persons with special needs, seniors, people experiencing any sort of mental health issues. That's a big part of my background. My most recent position was with Anishinaabe oh my gosh, I have a stutter, I apologize. Anishinaabe Child and Family Services as a prevention service worker. So I have a large amount of passion about working with Indigenous people in the community. So I'm excited to bring that here and share my culture, as well as educating as much as possible and getting community members involved. My current position here is as a military family navigator. So I am here to connect families with any services that are needed, whether it's prenatal care or deployment services or mental health services for family members, healthcare, all those different things, trying to get them as connected as possible and integrated into the community so they feel supported and part of the community here. So.
Thank you, Sara. Marcie Lane. Marcie is our new mental health and wellness coordinator. Marcie, why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what your role is at the MFRC?
Okay, well, Miigwech, Julie and Claudia for the warm welcome to our first Fireside Chat. As Julie shared, I am the new mental health and wellness coordinator at the Family Center, which is located on the north side on the base. And Sara, we have yet another thing in common. I too am a proud Army brat. And I also wear that title very proudly. So Kwe, bonjour, hello. I am also a proud military veteran, having served in the Army and in the Air Force as military police and imagery technician, which is a military photojournalist. So I've served here in Canada and abroad, and I'm very honored to have served our country. And now my role as the mental health and wellness coordinator is to serve those who serve and their valued families. I'm honored to do that. I have been recently registered as a social service worker in Ontario, having completed the social service work program here at a local college, Algonquin College. I also am a lone parent to a very active teenager, so I can appreciate some of the challenge of military spouses and partners that during deployments and things like that, life can get hectic. So that's what the PMFRC is here to help. I'm also studying an honors Bachelor of Indigenous Social Work. So through these studies, I'm not only learning about optimal strategies to advocate and support specifically Indigenous peoples and Indigenous veterans, but as well, I'm learning a lot more about my Indigenous lineage for that of myself and my sister. Because I think that learning where you come from and the remarkable attributes of your peoples is very empowering. So thank you, and I'm excited to see how our mental health team can come together and collaborate with community partners. So thank you for this opportunity to share.
Thank you, Marcie. Sara, we're going to start with you. If anybody who comes by the MFRC regularly will notice on Friday that much of our staff will be wearing orange shirts. And September 30th, Friday, is what some people refer to it as Orange Shirt Day or National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Let's start just by talking a little bit about Orange Shirt Day. What do those orange shirts represent, and why are people wearing orange on September the 30th?
Okay, I would love to get into this. I'm super excited. So if I speak too quickly, please let me know. So I would love to start with answering the question as to what is Orange T-Shirt Day. So Orange T-Shirt Day started as an Indigenous-led initiative after the discovery of 215 children on the Kamloops residential school grounds. It is community members and families and interested allies who wanted to advocate for the search and discovery of more children throughout Canada, because we are well aware that these numbers do not stop at 215, and the number that it is at now is nowhere near how many children have yet to be found. So the color orange was chosen as an identifier for this project because of the story of Phyllis Jack Webstad. She was a young girl who went to a residential school. Her grandmother sent her with a gorgeous, shining orange shirt. And when she showed up, the nuns there stripped her of that. And after her 300 days in residential school, she went to go and ask for that shirt back, and it was actually disposed of. So she goes around and shares her story. She's written a book and is a great ally and advocator for the cause. Yeah, so that is why Orange T-Shirt Day is so important.
So Friday, September the 30th is also known as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. It is, can you talk a little bit about how that came to be, and what does that represent? What are the things that we are marking and honoring through the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, this started as a grassroots Indigenous-led initiative, but the government of Canada really acknowledged that this was something that they needed to take seriously, to acknowledge that it was a genocide, and it was something that we needed to really put education and acknowledgement towards. So they decided to change September 30th from just, Orange T-Shirt Day, I'd say just as a starting point, and recognize it as a national statutory day of commemoration. So now it is National Truth and Reconciliation Day. It's a day of mourning and honoring all Indigenous, Inuit, and Métis people who are missing, murdered, displaced, stripped of their identity and culture, and really acknowledging what they've been through in that horrific history, and also helping to inspire us to support our Indigenous, Inuit, and Métis brothers and sisters on their development and moving forward, and re-establishing their culture and their jurisdiction over their family, all those different things. So it is really a day of mourning and honoring. And it's super important that we as a community and allies support and attend as much as we can in whatever ways possible.
Thank you, Sarah. Marcie, so we talked about the fact that different people, different provinces have made different guidelines around September the 30th. For some people, it'll be a statutory holiday. For some people, it won't be. But regardless, there's lots of ways that everyday Canadians can do things to mark this day in a very meaningful way. Can you talk about some of the things, give some ideas about some things that people could do either individually or as a family?
Absolutely. And one thing to remember when we talk about participating in events or gatherings is there is a distinction between National Indigenous Peoples Day, which is celebrated in June, then the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. It's a day of mourning, if you will, and paying our respects to the things that Sara shared about the missing and murdered Indigenous women, about the children lost at residential schools, and the ripple effect of that, the ripple effect of the 60s dupe and the residential schools and the Indigenous sacrifice that was made. So I think it's important that the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation is a day of mourning. And when we decide to participate in community events or organize that it is not a day of celebration of our rich Canadian culture. Indigenous culture is a day of mourning. So there's many things we can do. We're very fortunate to live in the Renfrew County community. So many of our PMFRC community partners are organizing events, as well as we're organizing an in-house staff event as well on Friday with some of our childcare kiddos. So we're looking forward to that on this Friday. One of my favorite community engagement events to participate in on this day with my daughter is the Kairos blanket exercise. That's K-A-I-R-O-S, the Kairos blanket exercise. And it is a very emotional, powerful, and moving way, very highly engaging way for people to learn about the sacrifices of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples in an engaging way. So the blankets represent the land that Indigenous peoples occupied and the land that was stripped from them. So members of the community can participate and they read about the history of Indigenous people and they physically participate in this moving and educational event. There is one happening this Friday at Algonquin College in the gym. It is very inclusive. It is a free event to the Renfrew County and area community. It's warmly facilitated by the Circle of Turtle Lodge here in Renfrew County, which is an Indigenous Resources Center. And so our Indigenous leaders will be spearheading this event. My favorite part about the event, and like I said, it's very moving. So it's geared towards 16 and older because it does touch on those very heavy topics of the sacrifices of our Indigenous people. So that's something to be mindful of. If you're looking to register for it, you can contact the Pembroke Recreation Department. And like Julie said, we will make sure we put all those contact information and links in the chat available to you. My favorite part about it is at the end, there's a sharing circle. So one thing about Indigenous cultures, they're not big on a hierarchy because they feel that every voice matters, you know, and as every child matters, every voice matters. And they really believe in a bottoms up approach. So what they do is they form all participants in the Kairos blanket exercise in a circle to share how they feel, to share about how they're reflecting on the information that they learned that day, or share their private personal experiences that their family went through. So that's one thing I really enjoy about it, and you are welcomed to a healing smudge. So again, that's happening 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Friday at Algonquin College, and we'll get you those contact informations. So I strongly recommend. As well, the Family and Children's Services of Renfrew County, who is also a community partner of the PMFRC, is hosting some meaningful events as well, open to the public, very inclusive. They've also partnered with the Circle of Turtle Lodge and the St. Jean Baptiste Church in Pembroke. So they will be offering a drumming ceremony. There'll be a ribbon cutting to open the Family and Children's Services Lodge. Family and Children's Services offers a restorative practice team that advocate and support Indigenous families in the foster care system and to the local community. So they will be collaborating also to offer a placing of the shoes ceremony as well. The shoes representing the children who did not return from residential school. So that will be very moving and powerful and open to the public. There will also be a community walk to the Pembroke waterfront, followed by a candlelight vigil. So that's something that if you're working during the day, there's still opportunities to participate in the evening as well. It's to be mindful as well that learning about the sacrifices of Indigenous people and learning about how you can advocate for Indigenous peoples and be an ally doesn't mean that you have to, you know, we encourage you to wear the orange shirt. It doesn't mean you have to go in public and do that. So we all mourn and we all learn in very idiosyncratic, unique ways. And for some people, as you can imagine, it's a very triggering day. It's very taxing on people's mental health, and it's very alarming. Some of the information, whether you're an Indigenous person or not, this is the truth of our Canadian history. And during this day, we do address the wrongdoings of our government, and that can be very emotional. So you don't always have to go out into public. There's very meaningful things that you can do just at home as a family. I encourage you to a dinner time conversation with children. What did you learn today at National Day of Truth and Reconciliation at your school? And open that discussion around the dinner table. So that's a way, how do we move towards reconciliation? It's discussing the truth. It's that commitment to learning, commitment to listening, right? That commitment to lend a listening ear to our Indigenous peoples. So that's a meaningful thing. Perhaps privately at home as a family, have those dinner table discussions. I didn't know that. Thank you for sharing. And kids are really great and are really excited to share what they do learn in school. So I encourage parents to do that. And maybe it's a family movie night. Maybe if you're working during that day or you've never participated in something before, a very educational and informative movie. It's by, the story takes place in the 1950s. It's called Indian Horse. And it's about a 6-year-old Ojibwe boy who is torn from his home and stripped of his culture and placed in a residential school. It's now streaming on Netflix. My daughter and I really enjoy that movie, watched it a few times because and it's entertaining. It's about Canada's game of hockey, and it's an effective way for youth to learn about the sacrifices of Indigenous people and that ripple effect of the residential school. So it's called Indian Horse. It's now on Netflix. It's adapted from an accredited Canadian author, Richard Wagasami. He's an Ojibwe author, so I really strongly encourage you to do that. So like I said, it's important to not always feel that pressure that if I don't wear my orange shirt and go to these big public events, that's okay. There's very meaningful things we can do at home. There's many free courses that you can take as well. I participated in one from the University of Alberta. It's offered through Sara. We'll offer you the Coursera, will offer you that information. It's called Indigenous Canada. It's a modularized course. It's self-directed. You can do in the evenings. And so again, this all lends to a commitment to reconciliation, is learning about the truth and engaging in these opportunities.
So Marcie, that movie that you mentioned on Netflix, what is the age recommendation you would give for that? Because you talk about it being a family movie. What are the ages you would say that would be appropriate for?
I'm glad you asked that. And because we know that, and that's always tricky. I mean, we face that ourselves when we're organizing our PMFRC gathering on Friday, that we have to be sensitive to our little ones because the information is very heavy. So Julie, thanks for asking that. I would say youth, I would say 14 plus. Because as you can imagine, it does address some of the abuse that happened in residential schools. And I say it's an effective way to learn just because youth love a sport, and because the lead role's passion for hockey, I think that would draw the interest of some youth, and it does discuss the truth. So I would say it would be for youth and up, and it's something that you can do together in the privacy of your own home. And like I said, a lot of people work during the day, so to be mindful of that. And like I said, pick and choose what you think is appropriate for you and your family, and go from there.
You alluded to a couple of times that we were doing something at the MFRC on Friday. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how that's going to roll out?
Absolutely. And first, Sara and I, as we mentioned, are new, and we're proud to be Indigenous. So we came together and said, let's present the idea. And we just wanted to say miigwech and thank you to Claudia and Julie for when you heard the idea, you were 100% on board, highly supportive. And I think it's important to note that something that you said, Claudia, that this cannot be and will not be a one-time, offering an opportunity for the staff to get together just because it's the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. And you have said, I think it's important for our staff to do professional development all throughout the year because some veteran families in our community are Indigenous. So I just wanted to say that I'm honored to work for an organization that does recognize that we do have to act in effort to collaborate with all oppressive groups, and they're represented all throughout the military. So at the PMFRC, we are gathering at our Southside Community Center for those new families. We actually have a few locations. We have locations on the north side, but this won't be taking place on our south side. You might be familiar with the area. There's a Canics next door. So it's the Southside Community Center. We're going to be gathering with all the staff, and we're including our childcare kiddos. We're all wearing our red, and we have been graciously, we're going to be graciously led by a smudge from Chantel Chadwick. She's a local Indigenous woman, an Indigenous artisan, and Indigenous educator. So we've reached out to her. She's a dear friend of Sara's, who reached out to her, and she graciously agreed to offer us a smudge, some educational pieces on what National Day of Truth and Reconciliation is. And we have some age-appropriate activities for our children in our PMFRC childcare to learn about why are we wearing orange, and to learn about the remarkable attributes of our Indigenous peoples. So it's an opportunity to gather, learn, mourn. We will be having a moment of silence to respect those murdered and missing women, Indigenous women, and also for those who paid the ultimate sacrifice in residential schools, and discussing the ripple effect of the residential schools and the 60 Scoop. And that's happening this Friday at the Southside Community Center.
Thank you, Marcie. And if you're wondering why we occasionally look alarmed while you're speaking, you have been sort of freezing on and off. So I think we all kind of hold our breath, like, is she going to start again? And we're fine. So if you're watching this after and wondering why it's because you do freeze a little bit. We want to make sure that you were going to come back to us.
Oh, I thought it was because it was so riveting. So that's what it was. So,
that too.
And I'm sure that we've all experienced these glitches being, coming out of COVID. So we appreciate the viewers' patience as we navigate those little glitches.
Claudia, as part of the strategic plan that our board has put together for the MFRC, one of our core values is inclusion. Can you talk a little bit about how that value of inclusion is really built into the day-to-day workings of the PMFRC, be it in our relationship with our families, with our clients, or with our staff members?
Sure, Julie. As you mentioned, inclusivity is one of our guiding values, and it is a lens that we use in everything that we do. It pretty much is all rolled into one of team, family, the clients that we serve. But I do want to put more of an emphasis on our employees. Each person on our team is different in one way or another. We have a really dynamic team where everyone brings different experiences, skill sets, and leadership abilities at all levels of the organization. Each employee's individual potential really enhances our collective influence, and that supports our ability to be so innovative in the services and the activities that we provide. And proof of that really was what allowed us to pivot so quickly when we provided the supports and the services during the pandemic, and how we continue to be really innovative and contribute our efforts to meet the families where they're at. Our employees spend a large part of their day at work. That's no lie. So it's really important that they feel safe and respected in the workplace. Essentially, an inclusive work culture is really about us ensuring that everyone feels valued and respected, whether it's from the employee's perspective or from the families and clients that we serve. There's also, one of the reasons why, and you've heard us say it often on Fireside Chats and our events, that getting feedback from the families truly is important. We want to hear what the families are experiencing, what supports they need, what can we do better. And it's important that everyone feels heard. Where we can adapt, pivot, or grow, we will do the best. We'll do the best that we can wherever that's possible. It really is fundamental to the MFRC to be successful and to meet the mandates of support to the CAF families and the community at large. I heard a quote recently, and I can't for the life remember where I heard it or who said it, but sometimes it's often what you hear is what resonates. And they said that to be one's authentic self, one must feel included. And I really take that to heart. And I'll continue to strive towards being that leader that embraces the employees feeling comfortable and confident to be themselves, and that they not only feel valued, but they also feel that their contributions to the organization are valued. I think that's really important. And, be true to your voice and what you want to contribute, and we will be open and receptive to that. So the workforce continues to change. The world is changing, and we'll continue to model an inclusive workforce culture. And, not just with regards to truth and reconciliation or pride or any of those other areas that we want everybody to feel inclusive. We'll continue to grow and learn. And it's not a one and done, right? This is ongoing, and we're open to hearing what families have to say, what employees have to say, and be the best that we can be for the families that we serve and the employees that work for the organization. And the board 100% stands behind that. So
thank you, Claudia. I think the last thing I want to say is, as we go through this week and we talk a little about the stories and the history of our nation, I think there's some things that come up either as adults or in speaking with our children that's disturbing, that's hard to hear. They're conversations that are hard to have. There are resources for people who need support. And we really wanted to talk about that. Marcie, can you talk about whether you're watching as an Indigenous person or an Indigenous community member, or as a client or family from the PMFRC, what are the supports that are available for people who just need to reach out and talk and maybe get some support?
Absolutely. That's a really important information to share, that, as you said, Julie, it's a heavy day for a lot of people. So there are some national supports as far as hotlines that are available 24/7. Hope for Wellness Helpline, and we will be sharing all this information with you in the chat. Talk for Healing, Indian Residential School Survivors and Family Crisis Line. We have the Kids Help Phone, was also a valuable resource that's available 24/7, a National Indian Residential School Crisis Line. And as well, if you're looking for resources, would like to speak to someone, we are a mental health team. So if you are a military family living in our Petawawan area community, please reach out to our mental health support team. So it's mhsupport@petawawamfrc.com. We will get you that information. Or you can send me an email directly, which will offer you that information, and I can facilitate some referrals and get you that contact information as well.
Perfect. Claudia, do you want to say it, or do you want me to say it? Our motto for the Fireside Chat.
You can say it, but before you get to that point, I do want to have a shout out to the Phoenix Center. So we provided a large list of resources and supports available to the employees, and we'll post some of those as well in the comments, I believe. Marcie, I think you referred to a couple of them in your part where you were talking about what's available. And I just, it's another way that we are not the only entity that supports families. There's no door that's the wrong door. So thank you to the Phoenix Center for providing that information, and we'll promote that as wide and far as we can.
She said she was going to let me say it, but she said it. No door is the wrong door. All that build up, and she just sort of scooped me. The supports are out there. And if you're not entirely sure who to call, reach out to one of them, and the people on the other side are going to help you find the support that you need. Please don't sit there and not get the support that you need because you are worried about bothering somebody. You're worried that you're not calling the right line. No door is the wrong door. So please reach out and get that support that you need. Thank you all for joining us. Anybody have any last wise words before we sign off?
Thank you. And thank you to Sara and Marcie for everything that they're doing to coordinate this acknowledgement and day for the employees on Friday. I'm looking forward to participating.
Thank you. And we encourage you all to take a moment to remember and to acknowledge and to commemorate the residential school survivors, those who were lost in residential schools, their families and their communities. Have a great day.